Hey, everybody, and welcome. It is Masters Week 2021, and we are going to talk about influencer marketing in today's business. But before we get started, you know what to do. Cue the intro video. Doug, it is one of our favorite weeks, and you're going to have to scoot back just a tad because I can't see your little Masters logo there on your polo. For all our golf fans out there, which I know there's a lot in our industry does a lot with professional golfers, with golf clubs, all that stuff. This is probably a lot of people's favorite weeks aside from March Madness. Like, this is just the best time of the year, Doug. I mean, spring's here. We have March Madness that just wrapped up. We've got the Masters. We've got like the draft that's coming up. I'm just really excited. How are you?
You are super pumped today. Look at you go.
Super pumped.
Canadians coming out.
Oh, super pumped. No, spring is here. The weather's turning. There's so many awesome things that's going on in the world. The world seems to be opening up. I mean, sans Canada, whatever's going on with you guys, but
the rest of the world,
the rest of the world
Canada, we're just
seems to be opening up. Business optimism's kind of an all-time high as we look to this year and getting back to doing things that some resemblance of normal. But I'm just super pumped because I think today's conversation, because we've had a lot of questions with clients and actually some people asking and inquiring specifically about the topic of today, which is influencer marketing. And I thought, what better time to talk about influencer marketing, what it is, how it's affecting business today, and why it matters to your business today, and really kind of tell you the things that it's not and tell you the things that you should look to do when you do it. And you know, with it being Masters Week, I mean, again, everybody sees somebody wearing a brand, and I think everybody can go back to an iconic moment in 2005, and I know, Doug, you're a big fan of this. I'm a huge Tiger fan, but in 2005, what happened that is just forever, like, burned into your brain as far as imagery goes, for those that may not know?
There's literally thousands of Tiger moments at the Masters, but there's one in particular. Tiger, I think he was either tied or leading by one over Chris DeMarco. He got to the 16th hole, which is a par 3, and he'd hit it to the left. Mm-hmm. And he hit a chip back up, and it was rolling, stopped right on the edge of the cup. And then all of a sudden dropped in. And as it rolled, you saw the Nike logo perfectly framed as it dropped into the cup. And then Tiger with his fist pump, the crowd goes nuts. He goes on to win. It's probably one of the most watched Masters moments ever. Ever. And we were talking about it last night. I was like, well, that's a perfect way to frame the discussion, because you couldn't pay, even Nike with their budget, you couldn't pay for the number of media impressions that still gets today. Like every year, I think in March, when they start showing like, hey, the Masters is coming, that's almost in every ad, every clip, like every frame of the Masters. It's actually on posters when you walk in. It's just one of those iconic moments. But I mean, most brands, they don't have $150 million to sponsor somebody.
No,
but like one of the, and if they do, like I would be looking for the next up and coming person in golf. But if you think about it, it goes back to some of the fundamentals we've talked before. You have to know where the attention of your audience is. And for golfers, like anybody, if your audience is in golf, their eyes this entire week is going to be on the Masters. Mm-hmm. Like no matter what, it's the one tournament, it's equivalent of the Super Bowl, where all the attention's there.
Yep.
And it's been actually really funny for me just watching the evolution of these influencers on Instagram who are golf related, but like they have all these special segments this week around like the Masters and what they're doing. So you may not necessarily be able to afford Tiger Woods, Bryson DeChambeau, Jordan Spieth, but there's so many other people on social who have the attention of your audience, especially weeks like this, that you could do partnerships with.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for an example, you imagine people who've got tickets that are influencers. Imagine you as a private jet company pick them up, drive them down there, and just have them document their week and what the travel experience is like. There's
Yeah.
so many small opportunities, like, to tag team and work with these people just to show the experience of what it's like to work with your brand.
Yeah, that's a lot. That was a lot. We just dropped on people. I kind of want to break that down because from what I'm hearing from you, Doug, like, so here's the other thing too. Like in today's world, in 2021, the term influencer marketing, again, it's not new. It's been around, but a lot of people have typically thought it's around, the celebritons, these massive followings. But over time, what has really kind of turned out to be is that, yes, like, you do have that 1%, like the Tiger Woods, the Kim Kardashians examples of the world. But again, those people are inaccessible. Now we're seeing influencers. The term is actually being shifted to content creators, because now, again, anybody with a phone and on social media, and if they've got a following or if they got a specific niche, for example, the Masters and golf related, they are an influencer in their space, that they are creating content specifically for that topic. Or aviation, for example, we go around, we do a lot of coverage at events, we do things for people. But now what people are wanting to see, instead of you pushing your message and your marketing, now you're having somebody advocate on your behalf and telling their story, of how they're interacting with your brand, how you're helping them, how you're making their life better, all those things. That is what we see as the biggest trend going into 2021 when it comes to marketing, and it's outperforming organic, it's outperforming paid search. It's incredible what it's doing, because I think in today's world, and the year that we've been through, people are looking for some sort of, again, reconnection. And the beauty of influencers or content creators is that they tell their story with your brand, in that collaboration in a unique way that people now, like, they don't feel like they're being pitched from your company. They feel like they're a part of your journey. They feel comfortable because they see somebody they like, they follow, that they're excited to see what they're up to. And it exposes people to much greater audiences than typically you just would do, because typically these influencers or these content creators spread their stuff omni-channel. And you as a business, it's up to you to be able to make sure, one, going right back to the beginning, what Doug said, and how we start everything with any marketing tactic, is the strategy portion of understanding who your customer avatar is, right? Knowing the events and the books and the articles or the TV shows that they're paying attention to and watching. I mean, obviously for golfers, this is number one on that hot list of things you need to do. So again, finding all those influencers, like Doug mentioned, you don't have to reach out and touch, Golf Elite. There's a lot of people online that have followers for whatever reason, and you just got to make sure, one, that vibes with your messaging, your brand, and that person can tell that story authentically. So sorry, that was a lot there. I tried to break down kind of some of the things you said.
It's okay. The cool part for me, like, there's two parts of influencer marketing that I love. Number one is because, to me, its roots actually stemmed from golf. And you can argue maybe it came from before, but for those of you who don't know, Arnold Palmer was probably one of the biggest people in golf. And he was so famous and so interactive with his fans that they actually built what's called Arnie's Army. The fans named themselves and labeled themselves to the point where, like, hey, we love this person so much. What Arnold Palmer realized, and this is why he's probably been my biggest inspiration to be an entrepreneur, is he understood that I have this attention and I can figure out how to redirect it to build other brands. So he was able to build his own, like, golf company. He built the golf company, or golf channel. Arnold Palmer founded the golf channel because he realized, I already have this attention. Why don't I just move it here? He also launched one of the largest sports management companies, AGI, with Mark McCormick, his original manager. And today they still hold the contracts for Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, most of the big name players, because, again, he realized he knew how to manage talent and audiences and the power that, and the responsibility that came with it. So to Chris's point, the reason that these influencers and content creators came up is because they knew how to, one, tell a story. But number two, which is probably the most important part, and this goes back to building an audience, is they know how to engage with an audience. Arnold Palmer knew how to build a fan base. So much so he actually spent over $100,000 a year in postage returning letters to fans. So if you think and look through your influencers or your content creators, it's not just about the audience size. Like you can go out and buy 1 million followers. Probably costs about 10 grand, but you could have 1 million followers.
For sure.
What's really core and important to the strategy working is picking the partners or the creators who understand how to engage with the audience, who have that relationship to say, hey, listen, I just did this experience with this brand. This is how awesome it was. I know you trust me, so you should definitely give it a try, at least considering testing it.
Yeah.
That's the true value in what it works. And I see, unfortunately, a lot of people just look at, oh, they got 1 million people. I got to invest or spend that money with them. But that doesn't always work. I'd rather see people work with, content creator who's got 25, 50,000 followers, but has a really good relationship with them and can move the needle and tell a really amazing story than just necessarily like, oh, they got so many people, let's just get in front of them.
For sure. Well, and the other beauty part about that too is not only, like I said, the content creator part, because obviously they want to expand their personal brand, right? And by highlighting that they had these awesome experiences with your brand, those content creators, like paid amplification of said story, right? Yes, they've got an engaged following, but the onus is really on the content creator to really get that message out. And so that takes the burden and the relief and the stress off of you and your marketing team, because now you're letting somebody run with that story. Granted, again, obviously you trust them. They've done the story. You vet the story, and you're okay with them putting that out there. But the onus is on them to make sure that they're reaching as many people as possible. So it really mitigates your risk and your exposure when it comes to the social amplification of said content. So that's just another huge perk. And with these content creators, I mean, obviously, again, video, we've hammered that probably 1 million times. Video and short form video, will continue to skyrocket. I mean, look at how all the platforms are evolving. I mean, LinkedIn even has LinkedIn Live now for those people that are maybe new to the platform or haven't discovered LinkedIn Live yet. But video is becoming mainstay in all these social platforms, which social is the internet, where people reach out, they connect, they find information, they make decisions. And in the B2B world, yeah, I mean, because it's such typically a longer sales cycle, the more social proof, the more influence, more people that they're seeing, using, and enjoying your product, your service, whatever it is, the more likely they are to trust your brand and want to work with you over somebody that's maybe not doing that.
100%. It's funny you mentioned that, because I've seen, when we're active, consistent, even doing just this show, the amount of people say, oh, I saw you did this episode on X, and they want to talk to you about it. So it's funny, even though like individuals, like you don't need the millions. You just need the person that has the attention of your audience to capitalize.
Yeah. As that, or we had mentioned somebody again that's just focused in that niche. Yes. I mean, again, that's where the thing really stands out. Like if you know somebody in your space that's putting out content, that's having a voice, and obviously it's representative of the industry, because you really want to find people that are advocates for your industry, for your company, for your brand, for your people. That when they can be advocates, I think that's where like the authenticity really comes through, because at that point, again, it's a human relationship. I don't care if you're B2B or B2C, I'm getting tongue-tied here, B2B or B2C. When you have that influencer, that content creator that, again, is sharing an authentic story, an experience that they had with your company and your brand, that does far better than any staged high-production commercial shoot, because it's real. And that's, I think, what people are really craving, and that's why we see this trend continuing to go and take off, and especially for younger generations like the millennial generation like ours, we don't care so much anymore about the status and prestige of what maybe our parents cared for, right? There's a lot of things that we hold dear to our core values, specifically millennials, and then Gen Z as they're coming up in the ranks, as you look at the next 10, 15, 20 years of your business. I mean, authenticity and having those core values that you're conveying to those audiences is absolutely imperative to continue to sell your brand and to continue to build an audience of the next generation of people that are likely going to influence an industry and also your brand. So if you want to be top of mind, get in front of those people now. Start building the foundation of what your brand is, of what it's going to look like in the future, instead of just focusing again so narrow-sidedly on, hey, we're just going to continue to do events and shows. You've got to see where the rest of the industry and where the rest of the world is essentially opening up to bring more people into their brand.
Oh, 100%. The interesting thing about the content creation, that is their zone of genius.
Yeah.
Like, they've actually mastered the art of creating the story. They've mastered how they interact with their audience. So I find most companies struggle to move out of what they do, like their core business and what they're great at, trying to all of a sudden do this thing over here that these people are already better at. And it's just really good to find like a partner to do that. Like, no offense, I don't want my surgeon also playing nurse. I want my surgeon to be my surgeon, and then he's got a team that helps him do something. So it's important to understand, like, allow the influencers to use their zone of genius and let them help elevate and bring your brand up. It's just a faster path to success.
Yeah. Well, and it gives it really peels back the layers of your company and your brand, because, like, yes, say you sell a product or service, right? Obviously, all your marketing material, your printed material, your website, it all states what that is, right? But now when that influencer, that content creator can experience it firsthand for themselves and share what they experience, or what those emotions are that they're having with your product or service, that to me again is something where that's more memorable than some sales pitch or some shtick. Like, oh, we have this or that. Like, I don't think any of that matters anymore with today's audiences, whether or not, like, you're number one in this or number one in that. Like, great. Like, you should be doing that as a successful business. You should have the best customer service. You should be striving for, safety and all these things. But how are people feel like when they work with you? Are you number one because you just happen to be the biggest and nobody really has any other options, so they're kind of stuck with you? Or are they working with you because they absolutely love your people, they love your product, they love your service? That's why testimonials. I mean, it's just, I think it's an evolution of testimonials. What do you think, Doug?
I think 100%. But if you remember going back to, like, one of the primary exercises we do with clients, the customer loyalty funnel, when you talk at the brand awareness level, like that first stage of engagement, you really have three mechanisms to get somebody to know who you are. One is paid, you're going to run ads. Yep. Two is owned, like you've got your own audience, you're engaging with them, email, salespeople. And the third one is earned, like PR, referrals, mentions. The cool part about influencer marketing is you're able to now blend paid and earned. They've already earned the trust of this particular audience or niche you want to talk to. You're just building some type of partnership to access it.
Yep.
So it's almost this fourth hybrid that moves them over. And often, why I think it's emerging so quickly is that middle category earned. For the most part, those influencers are tagging your social channels, and you move these people into now your owned audience. They become followers. So if you're now all of a sudden backing up this partnership with your own content, or telling your own story, or providing value, you start to see this influx and you start to grow your own audience. The greatest growth of my personal platform and, like, my own following has come from partnerships or endorsements of other people. Like you mentioned, these social referrals. Like, when a bigger influencer says, hey, you got to go check out this book or this person's profile or this post, their followers tend to follow you. It's kind of that law of attraction. Yep. Like, things attract one another. So finding those partnerships and building those relationships is probably a really big thing to be prioritizing this year, next year, and for the next few years, because that's just where people's attention is going to be.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I saw a recent study that influencer marketing is, the spend is going to be up to $15 billion by 2022. $15 billion solely on influencer marketing. Again, and that's usually a whole separate slice of the pie of any other marketing investments or expenditures that you you might have. So I think with right now where we're at with influencer marketing, content creators, all this stuff, is that you can have, like, if you create an experience and you invite, 3, 4 micro influencers, you have more opportunities to kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work. You can really test the waters and refine what you're doing and have a lot of different earned media opportunities. I mean, that's why, like, at events, like at our trade shows, they invite the press to come in, because if they can have 100 press outlets come and cover and tell their stories about your event, I mean, think of the exponential reach that has. That's all you're doing, is you're creating your own little mini press event by trying to invite content creators of all types, of all kinds, to come and share your story. And from there, again, you sit back, you look at the analytics. That's why, like, being able to have the tracking tools and mechanisms, when we sit down and we map out strategies and we look at KPIs, we know specifically what we're supposed to be looking for in some sort of engagement campaign. So if you're rolling out an influencer campaign, there's 4 or 5 things that we're really going to dial in and hone in on to see if that really worked and converted. And if it did, now you can start to reinvest time and resources into that specific channel and continue to amplify it further. Again, for very, very little investment, because now you've gotten a proven track record of what's working. And again, the stuff, it continues to just amplify as it grows online. And that's how, like, the virality of things happen. When more good content is created and shared amongst all these circles, that's where now you're driving all this traffic back to our website, which, again, we know how important that is. So
it's that exponential impact. So more important question for you. Who's
Yep.
going to win?
I think Jordan might be riding the hot hand. He looked good last week in Texas, so I don't know. I think Jordan's probably the favorite right now. I don't know. Who's your take?
He's my favorite, but I think it's going to be fun to watch Bryson DeChambeau just pound the ball.
Did you? That's funny. So I saw him. I think it was warm-ups. I don't know if it was in Augusta, but it looked like he was, like, warming up for. He wasn't warming up. It looked like he was in the long drive competition. Dude was just bombing.
Oh yeah, did you see BJ standing behind him, just giggling and shaking his head? Yeah. So far, that's been my favorite moment from this Masters.
Oh,
but
but
it's not the same without Tiger, but it'll still be fun.
Not the same with Tiger. Yeah, so again, just to kind of wrap everything up, we talked about influencer marketing, kind of what it is, how it is, why it matters to your business. Again, this was just a pretty high-level approach. If you're interested in figuring out if influencer marketing is right for your company and for your business, let us know. Leave a comment, shoot us a note. Be happy to kind of map out, like, where that makes sense to fit it into your marketing cycle, into your customer value journey. Because, again, until you map that out and you have the tactics and the strategies down, you're just going to be throwing darts. So if you found anything interesting today, again, leave us comments. Let us know what you think of influencer marketing 2021. Doug, you got anything for everybody as we sign off?
Enjoy the Masters, everybody. It's the greatest event in sports.
Oh, it absolutely is. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.